Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for Second Time Around, the Kitchen Spoons and Combat Boots Multimedia Educational Series. I'm Candace Bryan-Bro, the Senior Family Readiness Support Assistant for the Vermont Army National Guard. And with me today is...
Hi, everybody. This is Marcy Caulfield, your State Military One-Source Consultant.
Hi, everybody. This is Michaela Lacoste. I'm the Family Readiness Support Assistant for the 86th IBCT.
Thank you so much, ladies. Before we begin, I'm going to read our disclaimer for the information being presented. The resources provided on Second Time Around does not constitute endorsement by the Department of the U.S. Army, U.S. Air Force, Vermont National Guard, or Vermont Military Family Programs of the organization's products and/or services contained therein. Further, Vermont Military Family Programs assumes no responsibility for consequences resulted from the use of the products or services provided by the organizations or resources listed. Vermont Military Family Programs makes every effort to present our clients with reputable resources. We cannot guarantee the validity of said resources, and use of such resources is voluntary. So each month, we feature a different topic. And if anyone listening has suggestions for future topics, please feel free to reach out to one of us via email. Our contact information can be found on the corresponding slide deck.
And now that we have all the admin out of the way, we're going to go ahead and get started. Today's topic is it risky business, social media, and the job hunt? So I'd love to introduce all of you to Nick Thomas. Thanks for coming, Nick.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, my name is Nick Thomas. I am the Career Readiness Counselor. I'm a contractor with the Vermont Army National Guard, and I supply employment services to all of our soldiers and airmen in regards to building their resumes, contacting civilian employers, and all-around job readiness counseling. So what that means is thinking about what career you want to have, where you are, and trying to fill in the gaps to how to get you there. So that's pretty much what I do on a day-to-day basis with our service members. But what I'm here to talk about is social media and the impact that that can have on your career. Think about, while we go through this, what your social media presence is like, and if your potential employer were to look at your social media, what type of picture would they see as far as you as a candidate without looking at your resume or cover letter? What type of image are you portraying online, and what type of image do you want to portray? And try to evaluate how different they are and see what you can do to make those one and the same. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about the C generation. It's this new term that's come out for all the generations that have grown up with what we call, modern technology, smartphones, social media, and essentially the internet. So it encompasses a whole bunch of generations, but this generation in particular, they're connected, they're communicating online, they're content-centric, meaning they're looking for the next biggest trend or content that they can use. They're computerized with pretty much their entire lives. So these types of individuals, the connected individuals, are looking at their phones as tools for appointments. They don't have an appointment book. They're doing pretty much everything online. And what you have to understand is, as online becomes more part of our day-to-day operation, sometimes we can think of it or not think of it as part of our daily lives. And what ends up happening is we'll accidentally slip up by being too free with what we post online. So the first generation that has, kind of ever known anything other than online, the main takeaway is they simply can't put their technology down. And this is good and bad in various ways. So why do we use social media? For me personally, social media has been a great thing to stay in touch with friends that, live far away, or family members that I normally don't see. But there's also positive benefits to using social media for your job hunt and for you. So number one, research is something that you can do, but it's more of a preliminary thing. Don't really trust what you see on social media. I know there's a lot of buzz about fake news and whatnot. So if you're going to use social media for your news, just make sure that it's coming from a verified account, and then still double check and fact check that. But I know a lot of people like to read articles, BuzzFeed articles, People engage in conversations, creating blogs, writing articles, and they use social media to have instant access to a wide audience or a platform. So there are a few these are examples of regular social media usages, and mainly it's a time waster while we wait for something else, or an escape from a bad date or movie, or a distraction from something negative in our lives. But we want to turn this around, and in the next 30 minutes or so, you'll see the benefits of social media for your employment and job search, and hopefully you'll be able to incorporate some of the suggestions into your daily lives. So to start out with, I wanted to give all of you out there a picture of what our global consumer nature of social media has been. The total population is roughly 7.4 billion people in the world, and we have an internet user population of roughly 3.77 billion individual accounts. So roughly 50% of the world uses the internet in some form or fashion. Now, the social media users, this is the interesting thing. According to the Global Digital Snapshot, captured in 2017, states that 37% of the population, that's 2.78 billion people, have social media accounts that are unique. It's really interesting stuff to see that regardless of where we are, roughly half the world uses the internet, and another 37% has a social media account of some form or fashion. Mobile users, this is the huge one. 4.9 billion people uses some type of mobile device, which equates to 66% of the population. So if you think of that, more than half the population's online, and more than half the population has some sort of mobile device. And it totally influences the way that we look for jobs and the way that we connect. 1.86 billion people are on Facebook, and the other statistics across the board, Twitter, Snapchat, they're huge numbers. Even something as small as Pinterest has over 150 million followers. So really to kind of kick it off, social media and hurting the job hunt. I've seen some pretty cringy stuff on social media, and I know that for all of you that are listening that are in the military particularly, there are social media protocols, and if you follow those protocols given out by your unit or component, you're going to be pretty safe because they're more stringent than the general public. But Michaela, have you heard or seen any examples of some type of postings that might make you leery as an employer? What type of stuff would set you off if you were hiring for a position?
Well, Nick, if I saw maybe a picture with, binge drinking in the background, or some type of just inappropriate picture, I'd probably be like, I would definitely question their extracurricular activities, and that might make me think twice about hiring them.
So, yeah, and you know what the interesting thing with that is? Now we are starting to take into account somebody's private life in addition to their professional life before they even walk in the door for an interview. Candace, have you seen anything online recently that you'd be kind of taken aback by if you were an employer?
I would definitely say kind of, the political conversations that have been happening online would probably make me feel like, okay, well, this person can't keep their sort of political opinions to themselves, and that can cause some, stress at the workplace. I probably don't want to work with them. I could see how that would happen, but also I see like oversharing where people are, where they're checking in.
It's crazy.
And it's all over the place. And so I know if you didn't go to work on Monday, but you checked in to, a restaurant, that you didn't stay home sick. So yeah, I definitely I've seen things like that before, and I find it really, really entertaining. I find it really interesting.
It's so funny you bring that up. The thing that I wanted to share too was we all have those coworkers that are constantly on Facebook, and it's funny to me that when you add your supervisor as a friend, and then you start checking in all over the place during the workday, you think that your boss isn't going to know that you're not at your desk. I think that it's funny, and I see it all the time. So just being mindful of how you use your devices and your accounts, especially in the job hunt, because most employers, HR teams, and managers are going to do a quick Google search, and guess what comes up on Google first? Regardless or not if you want it to, your Facebook page, your Twitter account, and various other pages are going to pop up if they Google your name. The fact is, you can't really run from it, but you can protect yourself from it. I like to say it's a really old adage, but if your mom or dad shouldn't see it, or you think that your grandmother wouldn't necessarily approve, it most likely shouldn't be out there for the world to see. With the caveat that we all have to live our lives, and I don't want to scare people and say that Big Brother is always watching, but at least make sure that your privacy settings are set to the way they should be so that they can't discover, employers and HR folks and potential business partners can't discover, those older posts. And speaking of older posts, it rolls right into older posts because let's say you're a recent graduate, right? And you got your first job and 5 years ago was college. Well, you had one of those Facebook reminders was like, 5 years ago, time lapse in history. And you decide to share a photo of you, as Michaela so eloquently putting it, like funneling a beer. I mean, that's not going to be good for your new young adult career life. Just as if you were to share some type of post that you were tagged in that you might not necessarily want somebody to see. The real main takeaway from this section is managing your privacy settings, managing your page. Don't let the internet run over your page. Don't let your friends run over your settings. Take control. Go into the system settings on whatever social media platform you are. Use it. YouTube a video if you're not entirely sure on how to do that, and really lock your page down. One of my previous lives, I was a high school teacher, and it was a constant battle of just not letting my students who are constantly trying to find their teacher on Facebook, not letting them in, and declining friend requests from people you don't know, and making sure your privacy settings are the way they should be. So I can't stress that enough. But that's a lot of negativity, and I wanted to get that out of the way because there's a lot of great things that social media can do for you, specifically in the realm of job hunting. Michaela, are you familiar with any social media platforms that actually help in the job hunt?
Yeah, I mean, I've used LinkedIn before, Monster, Google searches, anything like that, just finding some type of platform, USA Jobs.
And all of those are great. And the interesting thing is you need a profile for all of those, including USA Jobs, which is the essentially the U.S. federal government's way of putting jobs out there. You still need a profile, and you still need a login. But LinkedIn is a fantastic social media networking. If you haven't been on LinkedIn, it's essentially Facebook, but more geared towards professional. I guess I would tune it towards like a Facebook for professionals, and where you can validate other coworkers' skills, and you can network with other people in your career field that you might not necessarily touch base with on a day-to-day basis. So me being a career counselor, I can see educational career counselors at colleges from, the West. I can see people from Florida that do the same job. And it's just a great way to connect with those in your profession. But one of the best ways that you can do LinkedIn, or use LinkedIn, I should say, is to actually go on to LinkedIn and research the company that you want to work for by looking up some of their employees and seeing what they have to say and what they have to share about their own company. Because that way you can get an insight before you even go to the interview. You can be more up to speed with the most recent dealings of the company. And if you find an article that's interesting, most things on LinkedIn are actually public. You can actually view the article before you go into the interview, and you'll be that much more abreast to what that company has going on. But the job hunt has become almost exclusively an online market. Gone are those days of walking in with an application anywhere and dropping it off. Very few places have that. And being up to date with how to find a job online and how to apply for it is key. All of the sites that we just mentioned, LinkedIn, Monster, there's a few other online, not social media platforms, but if you went and you went on to Indeed.com, that's another great place to look for a job. But looking for a job online means that your social media presence online, they're going to cross paths whether you like it or not. So just understanding that, yes, we are moving to an online job search mentality and an online job search practice, that's going to also bring up your online social media presence. And not to say that, but if you don't search for jobs online, you're going to be 86ing yourself out of roughly 80% of the entire jobs that are posted worldwide. 80% of all jobs are posted on the internet worldwide. So if you're not online looking for a job, you're not doing it right. So the traditional view for social media and using it to your advantage would be like keeping in touch with friends, looking at memes, bragging about your cat's latest cool trick, joining a group to keep up with your fantasy football league, and wasting time at work. That would be like the traditional view of social media. But what I encourage you to do is to take a more professional view. Keep in touch with your professional references. That way, if you're going to use someone as a reference, you could take the time out of your day and message them on Facebook saying, hey, I just put you on for a reference on my most recent job application. Is that all right? Staying current with the news. Most people, like I said before, it's a giant disclaimer. Don't take anything you read on there with a grain of salt. But if you want to stay just up to date while you scroll through, it's a good way of, the world's largest headlines will pop through. People will be talking about it. And researching the company, like I said, going on to the company's social media, going on to the agency's social media, see what they're saying, and to really see if your values align with the company you're researching. You want to join groups that are also affiliated with your volunteer organizations or what you're interested in. Too many times on Facebook when you're just rooting around in some groups that you're interested in, those people have jobs. Those people might work at a company that you're interested in. And really networking with other professionals is the main goal here. We're using networking as a tool to leverage a new position. And social media is here to say there's nothing that we can do to get rid of it. It's going to be here. So trying to navigate it and use it to your advantage is the most important. Candace, have you had any success in the past with reaching out to old friends or acquaintances when looking for jobs to see what's available or to ask them, hey, do you have a job available at where you work? Have you ever done that?
So I haven't had success with that. However, it was funny that you brought up the whole reference thing because actually when I was looking through my old references to apply for the FRISA job that I have now, I did have to reach out to a couple of people on Facebook because they were no longer at the phone numbers. They were no longer at the address that I had for them, but their name hadn't changed. And so I was able to find them on Facebook and be able to be like, hey, can I please put you down as a reference? And they were all totally okay with it. So I definitely found that to be a great tool for the professional sort of end of using Facebook.
Fantastic. And Michaela, have you ever used Facebook or any other social media to keep in contact with other, references or professional acquaintances?
Yeah, I've, like Candace was saying, reach out to somebody that you haven't talked to in a long time. Make sure, if their name's still the same. Also, transitioning jobs. If you, I still keep in contact with some of my old coworkers, and that's great because if they're looking for a job or if they need a reference or for whatever reason I need a reference, I can always reach back out and you still have that connection.
Yep, and I will say that there's been countless studies that show that reaching out to old references or old friends is way easier than making new friends or making new acquaintances. And you'd be surprised if you reach out to somebody you haven't talked to in 5 or 6 years, talk to them about their kids, talk to them about their activities that they like to do. Say, hey, I noticed that you had a picture online of such and such. Make the small talk because eventually it will turn to what we do with the most of our amount of our time, which is work. And you'll say what you do, they'll say what they do, and you never know what doors or windows are going to be kind of cracked half open for you to leap through. But the easiest way to do that is to go through the tight friend circles that you do have and to reach back to those that you haven't talked to in a while. So now we're going to switch gears and we're going to talk about social media in the workplace and how that affects what we do and how we do it on a daily basis. You have to have a strategy when you're using social media at work. You're going to want to ask yourself, why am I on it? Why do I need to post what I'm posting? Why should my employer care about my social media? And why should I use it within a job hunt or within a company if you're already at work. So social media, while you're at work, poses two distinct opportunities that I like to say. One of them is of like a time waster and something that's negative, and one of them is positive. And I'm going to hit back on this networking concept really quick. Networking is vital to the success of job seekers, and that also is within a company that you already work in, if that makes sense. I know that's kind of a botched way to say it, but within your organization, social media can be a powerful tool to identify who is a coworker, who's a manager, who's a supervisor, or an executive. And when a new job posting is put out within your company, you can reach out to others that may have done that job in the past and ask how that job was and try to get a real view perspective on it without even applying. That way that you can be, the most knowledgeable about the position before you think about throwing your hat into the ring there. So the idea is asking for those recommendations, asking for what people think about their positions, and using the power of networking within your company that you currently work at to leverage a promotion or a lateral move is really key. Especially, people don't think about other things in addition to promotions that you can get out of social media. So I'll introduce the topic really quick to you guys, scheduling, right? So let's say that you have children at home and you have to manage your schedule, right? So one thing that you can do is keep track with your schedule on a shared calendar. Candace, do you use a shared calendar at work?
Yeah, so actually we do use a shared calendar at family programs, and it's basically to kind of keep tabs on who's going to be in the office, who's going to be out of the office, so that we can organize what projects we need to work on at what times.
And Marcy, do you have something to add?
Yeah, actually, in addition to the calendar that Candace was mentioning, I also have a contract calendar. So I actually have to merge both companies' calendars into one with my day-to-day schedule, and that makes things a lot easier.
Interesting. So I know that most of us wouldn't think of calendars as social media, but it almost is, because we're sharing what we're doing, when we're going to be there, and how that's going to be. So with networking and looking for a job and trying to work out promotions or lateral moves and just working together in general, using social platforms is really important. So what does that all mean? Companies are starting to slowly understand that social media is becoming part of our language. I took some stats here from IBM, one of the biggest tech companies out there, and they actually have over 17,000 internal blogs that their own employees have started on various threads at work for accomplishing tasks and figuring out how to do projects, all the way up to potentially even an internal, buy-sell trade site, such as like a Craigslist, but internal. Over 100,000 employees are using these internal blogs. 53,000 members are on Social Blue, and Social Blue is IBM's Facebook internally, and it's their social networking site specifically for IBMers. And mostly, there's over a few thousand IBMers on Twitter, thousands of external blogs, and almost 200,000 IBM employees are on LinkedIn. So it's fantastic, the integration that social media is having within these larger companies, because if I'm an external person but I have a LinkedIn account and a Twitter account, I can reach almost 250,000 people that work at IBM without even having to work there. Candace, you wanted to say something?
I was just going to say, because I work next to Marcy, and so Marcy, if I'm not mistaken, Military OneSource has some sort of social media structure, because I always hear these little like ba-dings going off in your office.
We do. Because we are nationwide and we try to support the military worldwide, we actually dip into social media as a whole. And we have blogs, vlogs, podcasts, webinars, and it's constant social media altogether, just to make sure that we're connected individually as a team, but as well as socially out there to support the military community.
And how do you feel that your employer has... Do you feel that they've adjusted with social media to making this a more positive outlet for you as an employee, or do you still feel like your employer is more on the older school side of things where it's a negative for you to be on these? Do they encourage participation?
Oh, great question, Nick. They actually encourage the participation, and they're always looking for ideas. So here, because I'm right here in Vermont supporting our military community, if I see a need, I just escalate it up to the team and they take it under advisement. 9 times out of 10, there's a quick turnaround time to make things happen. So they're looking for those people, boots on ground, to make sure that we're connecting to the military community with social media as a whole. And this was really exciting because constantly my job is shifting to meet that need.
That's fantastic. And we use, at the Citizen Soldier for Life program, we use a similar platform. They're slowly rolling it out, and we have access to all of our training documents, all of the forms we need to submit, and I don't need to constantly email my supervisor. I can just pull it right off of the social media site that we use. And not only that, but they have the training videos on there that you can watch. You can log in whenever you need to accomplish what you need to do for the day. But most importantly, I can message any other career counselor across the country at pretty much any time. And, you want to be courteous to those folks that are like in Hawaii. But, we can message those folks and collaborate on projects to get solutions done a lot faster.
I agree, Nick. With that virtual realm, I know with my team, we are on. We're using the most recent version of Skype, and we can instant message each other constantly throughout the team. So even though we're remote employees, they're really not that far away. And like you said, Hawaii's pretty far, so let's mind the time zone difference.
Yeah, mind the time zones there. So what I want to leave you with in this kind of, I guess you could say, topic is the traditional view of technology and the more progressive view of social media in the workplace. So in previous times, employers, right, early between 99 and 2000, or when these social media networks started to first roll out, the workplace has had to have adequate access to technology to make the work more efficient, right? But the employers wanted to know that if we're going to invest millions of dollars in the technology, we want our employees to utilize it and to be proficient but not waste time, right? So if we're talking about expectations, right, the employees, they want to have adequate technology to make their jobs happen, but the employers are going to be investing the millions of dollars to make this happen. They want to make sure that the investment is going to pay off. Employees traditionally have wanted a relationship based on interactions around the office in regards to helping with technological issues. You don't want to be afraid to go to a coworker or to a supervisor to resolve a technological issue, but you want to be able to access that help when you need it. All technological issues are dealt in a reasonable time frame, and official help desk tickets must be submitted to track the quality of the repairs to the social media networking. That's what the company wants out of it. So if you look at it, the employees want to have, fast solutions to technological issues without having to go far to get those solutions. And the companies now are more on board with providing those solutions, but they want more of an official way to have that happen. Michaela, do you have to submit tickets to get anything, like a help ticket? Have you ever submitted a help ticket before for IT?
Oh yes, many times. There's issues with, if you have issues with printers or if something's not working, we just submit a help desk ticket and they call if they need more information. But yeah.
And it's a pretty fast and easy system, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So same with my contractor on my end. If I have an issue, I can go onto my social media platform, I guess you could say, an internal platform, and just submit a help desk ticket with my payroll or anything else. And it's really enriched the experience, and it's made a lot of things faster, which puts me back on my initial objective a lot quicker, and I don't have to waste as much time not doing my job trying to do things to do my job, right? So we're going to wrap it up here, and I just wanted to give you guys a summary of what we've talked about. It's been great. I've really enjoyed being here, giving you guys a synopsis of social media technology in the workplace. But social media is here to stay. We have to figure out how to live with it and not let it control our lives. We want to be kind of the creators and the makers of our pages, and you want to hold the lines for privacy settings and making sure that people can't just tag us in random things, because we don't want that stuff on our timelines or our pages. You want to plan to take advantage of the social media. Candace, what was one way that we talked about taking advantage of social media?
Basically, you could use it to keep in touch with old coworkers, old mentors, so that you have a reference for the next time you apply for a job.
Fantastic. That's great. Marcy, do you have anything to add on that? Like another, beneficial thing that's come of social media?
I would say just the whole connective piece as a whole, because you never know what window was open 20-something years ago that you could tap into in your future self.
That's
so it's always able
fantastic
to leave
point.
it open.
It's a really fantastic point. So manage your privacy settings, connect with people. Don't be afraid to connect, but always understand that someone is potentially watching, especially when you're putting job applications out there. And, never assume what you say on the internet will go away after you delete it. That's another assumption that I want to hit home. So if you're going to post something, just know that even after you hit that delete button, there could be a screenshot floating around out there. And with that's all I got. If you would like to contact me, you can search the Vermont National Guard Family Programs website. My contact information is there, or you can get in touch with the Kitchen Spoons and Combat Boots crew, and they can put you in touch with me, Nick Thomas, the Career Readiness Counselor. Thanks, and have a great rest of your day, guys.
Yeah, and we'll make sure to pop your information on the slide deck as well, so anybody who's downloaded the slide deck will also be able to have your information. They can contact you directly. But yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our multimedia educational series, Second Time Around. And thank you to the Vermont National Guard 40th Army Band for the use of their recording studio. We hope you found this content useful and informative. Remember, Kitchen Spoons and Combat Boots holds live webinars on the first Wednesday of every month at noon. You can find the login information on the Vermont Family Programs website at www.ngfamily.vt.gov. Be sure to check back often as we continually add valuable information to build on your personal toolbox. Thanks again, and we'll see you the second time around.